Madridistas, lovers of beautiful football, and even rivals who stop by out of curiosity to hear the heartbeat of the Real Madrid faithful. Welcome once again to this space, the channel where we live, breathe, and dissect every detail surrounding the greatest football club in the world. Here, passion is our starting point, but analysis is our foundation. We don't just celebrate victories or lament defeats. We try to understand the big picture, the long-term vision, and the subtle decisions that shape the destiny of a club with over a century of unparalleled history. Today we dive into a subject that has electrified conversations across Spain, across Europe, and even across the global football community. A rumor, nothing more, nothing less, but one of those rumors powerful enough to ignite hope, provoke debates, and even divide opinions within the fanbase. The name on everyone's lips is Rodri Hernandez, the midfield general of Manchester City and, without question, one of the most influential players in world football right now. Now, before we go any further, let's establish one undeniable truth. Rodri is an exceptional player. His rise has not been accidental, nor has it been a fleeting moment of form. He is the product of consistency, intelligence, and an evolution that has taken him from Atletico Madrid to Villarreal, from Spain to England, and finally into the heart of Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. He has become the cornerstone of a team that dominates English football and that, after years of chasing the elusive crown, finally conquered Europe with him at the very center of the project. When we speak of Rodri, we're not speaking of a mere defensive midfielder. We're speaking of a player who redefines what that role can be. His qualities are multi-dimensional. Physically, he is imposing, tall, strong, and capable of winning aerial duels with authority. Tactically, he is almost unmatched. His positioning, his anticipation, and his ability to read the game often mean he neutralizes danger before it even becomes visible to others on the pitch. Technically, he is elegant, calm, and efficient, always offering the right pass at the right time. Mentally, he exudes composure, rarely flustered, always reliable. He projects confidence to teammates and fear to opponents. Guardiola himself has described Rodri as irreplaceable, and that statement is not hyperbole. The entire City system revolves around him, much in the same way that past Guardiola teams revolved around Sergio Busquets at Barcelona. In many ways, Rodri is the modern evolution of that role. Bigger, stronger, more suited to the physical demands of the Premier League, yet still with the intelligence and subtlety that makes possession football possible. So, naturally, when rumors arise that Real Madrid could be interested in signing him, the imagination runs wild. After all, this is Real Madrid, the club that has historically pursued the very best, that has never shied away from ambitious moves, and that always dreams as big as possible. The thought of Rodri donning the white shirt is tantalizing. It sparks visions of solidity, control, and a midfield capable of dominating any opponent. But here lies the heart of the debate. Should Real Madrid pursue him? Because, as much as Rodri is a generational talent, football is not merely about collecting superstars. Real Madrid has learned this lesson time and time again. Yes, the Galactico era brought unforgettable names, Figo, Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, but it also demonstrated the importance of balance. When the team lacked players willing to do the dirty work, when the midfield was overloaded with artistry but understocked with discipline, results suffered. Conversely, when players like Claude Makelele, who rarely grabbed headlines, were anchoring the midfield, the team functioned like a perfectly tuned machine. It is no coincidence that many Madridistas still speak of Makelele as one of the most important, though underappreciated, signings in modern club history. Fast forward to more recent years, the midfield dominance of Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric defined an era. Casemiro, in particular, filled that crucial holding role with ferocity, tactical discipline, and leadership. His departure to Manchester United opened a new chapter, one that Madrid have attempted to address by recruiting young talents like Aurelien Tchouameni, Eduardo Camavinga, and the ever-dynamic Fede Valverde. These players are not just investments in the present, but also the foundation of the club's future. So the question we must ask ourselves is this: would the arrival of Rodri accelerate this evolution, or would it disrupt it? From a tactical standpoint, the fit is intriguing. Imagine a midfield where Rodri anchors the base, freeing Camavinga to use his energy and versatility higher up the pitch, allowing Valverde to charge forward with his trademark intensity, and giving Modric or Kroos, in their final seasons, the freedom to dictate rhythm without worrying as much about defensive cover. Later, as Jude Bellingham continues to grow into his role as the centerpiece of Madrid's attack-minded midfield, having Rodri behind him could ensure balance for the next decade. On paper, It looks almost perfect. But football is not played on paper. There are enormous practical considerations. For one, Manchester City would never let him go cheaply. In fact, if there is one player Guardiola would refuse to sell at any price, it would likely be Rodri. We are talking about a footballer who has become the backbone of their dominance. His market value would easily exceed €100 million, perhaps even closer to 120 to 150 million euros, considering both his importance and the inflated nature of today's transfer market. Would Madrid, who have been so careful in their spending lately, commit such a fee, particularly when they already have Tchouaméni, who was signed for a significant amount and who was expected to grow into precisely that role? There's also the question of identity. Real Madrid is not just about signing the best, it's about shaping the future. Florentino Perez and the board have made it clear that the philosophy is shifting from short-term Galactico signings to long-term project building. Investing in youth, securing generational talents like Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Camavinga, Bellingham, this is the new era of Real Madrid. Would splashing a massive sum on Rodri represent a step back from that philosophy? Or would it be seen as a final puzzle piece, the rare case where the price is justified because the player is simply that good? And let's not underestimate the sentimental factor. Rodri, having played for Atletico Madrid in his youth, has roots in the rival club. While this would not necessarily prevent a transfer, after all, football history is full of players crossing rival lines, it adds a layer of complexity. How would Atletico fans react? More importantly, how would Rodri himself feel about wearing the white shirt after being nurtured by Los Rojiblancos? Ultimately, the rumor forces us to reflect on broader themes. What does Real Madrid truly need right now? Stability in midfield, yes, but do they already have it with Tchouaméni and Camavinga? Is it worth breaking the bank for a player Guardiola himself has built his team around, knowing City will fight tooth and nail to keep him? Does Rodri represent not just an upgrade, but a transformative signing that justifies the sacrifice? This is what makes the debate so fascinating. Because with Real Madrid, nothing is ever small. Every rumor, every decision, every potential move carries weight, not just for the team itself, but for the entire football world. If Rodri were ever to arrive at the Santiago Bernabéu, it would not only reshape Madrid's midfield, it would reshape the balance of power in European football. And that, perhaps, is why this rumor has captured so much attention. It is not simply about one player. It is about the eternal question that defines Real Madrid. How do you balance the desire for the best with the discipline to build wisely? How do you honor the past while preparing for the future? How do you ensure that the club remains not just successful, but legendary? Let us now turn our attention, slowly and thoroughly, to the true heart of this entire analysis, the midfield of Real Madrid. In football, every great team is built upon a foundation, and while strikers may capture headlines with goals and defenders may save games with last-minute interventions, it is in the midfield where the essence of dominance is forged. The midfield is the control room, the conductor's podium, the lungs and the brain of a side. It dictates tempo, dictates rhythm, creates transitions, destroys threats, and offers the balance between offense and defense. In Real Madrid's case, examining the midfield is not merely a matter of listing names. It is an exploration into one of the deepest, most versatile, and most talent-rich collections of players in world football today. If there is one area of the squad where the competition is truly fierce, where quality seems to overflow, and where every option available could realistically start for almost any other elite club in Europe, it is right here in the center of the pitch. The building blocks of the new era. Take, for example, Erling Tchouaméni. When Real Madrid signed him, it was not just another purchase. It was a deliberate, strategic investment in the long-term balance of the team. Tchouaméni embodies the archetype of the modern holding midfielder, tall, physically imposing, but also elegant on the ball and intelligent in his positioning. He offers stability to the backline, breaking up attacks with sharp interceptions, while also initiating plays with precision and calmness. He is not flashy, but his presence is invaluable. He is the shield that allows the artists in front of him to create without fear. At just 24 years old, he already looks like a player capable of anchoring the midfield for the next decade. Alongside him, there is Eduardo Camavinga, a completely different profile, yet equally important. Camavinga is energy personified. He brings a dynamic spark, capable of covering ground tirelessly, winning duels, pressing opponents, and simultaneously offering technical quality. What makes him stand out even more is his versatility. He has successfully played not only as a central midfielder, but also as a defensive pivot and even as a left-back when the team faced emergencies. That kind of adaptability is a rare trait, especially at his age. He represents the new generation of footballers who are not confined by rigid positional labels, but instead embody the modern demands of flexibility and dynamism. Then there is Federico Valverde, the engine of Real Madrid. The Uruguayan has become indispensable, not only for his stamina and intensity but also for his tactical intelligence. His ability to cover the entire pitch, to defend as if he were a fullback, to attack as if he were a winger, and to appear in the box as if he were a striker, makes him a multi-dimensional weapon. His thunderous long-range shots have already secured crucial goals, and his unrelenting spirit mirrors the fighting DNA that has always defined Real Madrid. If Tchouaméni offers balance and Camavinga provides energy, Valverde is the relentless heartbeat that never stops pounding, dragging the team forward with sheer determination. And in the shadows, there is the bright light of promise, Arda Güler. The young Turkish starlet is still in the early stages of his Real Madrid journey, but his flashes of brilliance are enough to spark excitement. Left-footed, technically gifted, with vision and creativity, Güler represents something different from the others, a touch of artistry, unpredictability, and flair. He might not yet be a guaranteed starter, but in the long run, he could become the creative magician in the midfield, a player capable of unlocking defenses with a single pass or a subtle dribble. The guardians of an era. But any discussion of Real Madrid's midfield would be incomplete without paying tribute to the two veterans who still cast a long shadow over the squad, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. Together, they have defined an era, not only for Real Madrid but for world football as a whole. Kroos remains the metronome, the architect of possession. His passing range is unmatched, his ability to dictate tempo unparalleled. With Kroos on the ball, the game slows down to his rhythm. He is calm, precise, and almost machine-like in the way he controls transitions from defense to attack. His intelligence allows younger players to play with freedom, knowing they have a general orchestrating behind them. Modric, on the other hand, is the eternal wizard. Even at 38, his agility, his vision, and his creativity remain extraordinary. He has the unique gift of finding space where none exists, of turning under pressure, of delivering the perfect ball in the tightest scenarios. Beyond his technical brilliance, his leadership and experience in high-pressure moments continue to be invaluable. Time and again, in Champions League nights or decisive league clashes, Modric has risen to the occasion, proving that class is timeless. Depth, balance, and continuity. When one reviews this list of names, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde, Güler, Kroos, Modric, it becomes evident that Real Madrid's midfield is not merely covered, it is overflowing with quality. And crucially, it is not built solely for today, but also for tomorrow. The club has managed to seamlessly blend youth and experience, ensuring that when the old guard eventually steps aside, the new generation will already be fully integrated and battle-tested. This strategic foresight is one of the hallmarks of Florentino Perez's presidency. While other clubs chase quick fixes, Madrid has invested in players who can sustain performance across an entire era. The midfield has been future-proofed, with enough depth to handle injuries, suspensions, and tactical variations, while also possessing a ceiling of potential that few squads in the world can rival. The big question: why spend on Rodri? This brings us to the inevitable question: is it truly necessary, or even rational, for Real Madrid to spend 150 to 200 million euros on Rodri, a 28-year-old midfielder, no matter how excellent he is, when the team already has such a wealth of options? Rodri, of course, is an outstanding player, arguably the best holding midfielder in the world right now, a key figure in Manchester City's dominance under Pep Guardiola. He offers composure, defensive security, aerial presence, and distribution. But the question is not about his quality. It is about the fit within Real Madrid's current squad and project. Would signing Rodri improve the team? Perhaps. Would it be transformative, worth the astronomical fee? That is far less certain. Because Madrid already has Tchouaméni covering that role, with Camavinga and Valverde capable of adjusting as needed. Spending such a colossal amount on a player who would not necessarily represent a clear upgrade, nor provide long-term value given his age, seems inconsistent with the club's carefully built strategy. Florentino's philosophy: patience and vision. This is where Florentino Perez's philosophy becomes central. Unlike other clubs that sometimes act under pressure, succumbing to media noise, fan demands, or transfer market hype, Real Madrid under Perez has operated with patience, rationality, and long-term vision. The club does not chase every shiny object. It chooses carefully, waits for the right moment, and ensures every investment aligns with the broader project. In today's inflated market, where clubs like Manchester City or Paris Saint-Germain can afford to spend vast sums almost without consequence, Real Madrid has taken a different path, one of prudence, sustainability, and coherence. Rather than spending for the sake of spending, the club invests where it truly matters, building a squad that is balanced not only in quality but also in age profile, mentality, and adaptability. The midfield is perhaps the clearest example of this philosophy in action. Madrid has already secured the future in this area, building a core that could dominate European football for the next decade. Investing another fortune in Rodri would not only be redundant but also risk undermining the delicate balance of the squad. Conclusion: a fortress in the middle. Ultimately, the Real Madrid midfield today is a fortress, strong, dynamic, experienced, and youthful all at once. It is a department blessed with depth, variety, and world-class talent. From the steel of Tchouaméni to the energy of Camavinga, from the dynamism of Valverde to the creativity of Güler, and from the wisdom of Kroos to the genius of Modric, every piece complements the others, creating a symphony of footballing excellence. This is why, when considering the prospect of investing hundreds of millions in another midfielder, the answer is clear: Real Madrid does not need to. The present is secure, the future is bright, and the philosophy is sound. The club is not swayed by noise or market inflation. Instead, it continues to build patiently, rationally, and with vision, qualities that have defined its success in the past and will continue to define it in the years to come. Let us now move on to the economic aspect of the debate, because, as we all know, football today is not only about what happens on the pitch, but also about the financial structures that sustain the clubs at the highest level. And when we talk about economics in football, there is perhaps no better example than the case of Rodrigo Hernandez, better known to all of us as Rodri. Rodri, a player formed at Villarreal, polished at Atlético de Madrid, and consecrated as one of the finest midfielders in the world under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, is not just another name on the transfer market. He is the backbone of City's system, the pivot around which the entire machine rotates. Guardiola has said countless times that Rodri is irreplaceable. He dictates the tempo, protects the defense, builds from the back, breaks lines, and even scores crucial goals, as we saw in the Champions League final against Inter in 2023. In short, Rodri is not only a footballer. He is a system player, a coach's dream, and, at 28 years of age, very much at the peak of his career. But here comes the reality. Rodri is under a long-term contract with Manchester City. His importance to the club means that prying him away would not be a simple matter of negotiations. It would require a financial earthquake. We are not talking about 70 or 80 million euros, nor even 100 million. No, the price tag to convince City would easily reach 150 to 200 million euros, and maybe even beyond if competition arises. And so the central question must be asked: is it really worth spending that colossal sum of money on a 28-year-old midfielder, no matter how good he is? Let's pause and think logically. Football careers at the very top level are becoming shorter and more demanding. The intensity of modern football drains players faster than ever. With Rodri, at best, you are securing 5 or 6 elite seasons. After that, the decline will inevitably arrive, as it does with every player, no matter how professional or talented. So the dilemma is clear. Do you mortgage a gigantic part of your budget on one player, or do you invest strategically across the squad? Because here's the reality of the current Real Madrid squad: the midfield is not the problem. Quite the opposite, it is the strongest and deepest part of the team. Between Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouaméni, Fede Valverde, and even veterans like Modric and Kroos, Madrid already has both present brilliance and future security in that position. If there is one area where Los Blancos can sleep peacefully, it is in midfield. But what about the other areas of the pitch? The full-back positions are far less secure. On the left side, Ferland Mendy has struggled with injuries and inconsistency, and though Fran Garcia has potential, he is not yet at the level required to dominate in Europe. On the right, Dani Carvajal, a true captain, a symbol of the club, is beginning to feel the weight of time, and although he is still capable of delivering big performances, the succession plan is not clearly defined. And then we move forward to the attack. Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham are superstars, yes, but where is the pure number 9? Where is the striker to replace Benzema's goals and leadership? If we analyze things coldly, the truth is undeniable. The €200 million that would be needed for Rodri could instead be used to reinforce 2 or 3 critical positions, building a squad that is not only competitive in the short term but also future-proof for the next decade. Let me give you an example from history. In the early 2000s, Florentino Perez inaugurated the famous Galactico era. The arrivals of Figo, Zidane, Ronaldo, and Beckham gave the club global prestige and filled the Santiago Bernabéu with stars. But did it guarantee dominance? Not exactly. For all the brilliance, the team sometimes lacked balance, and the results reflected that. Now contrast that with the more recent model. Players like Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro were not flashy Galactico signings at the time, but together they built the greatest midfield in Champions League history. They cost relatively modest sums compared to today's standards, 35 million for Modric, 25 for Kroos, peanuts compared to the 200 million price tag we are discussing for Rodri. And yet, those 3 players gave Real Madrid dominance for nearly a decade. That is the genius of Florentino Perez and the modern Madrid model. Not to spend for the sake of spending, not to chase names just because they shine today, but to invest in players who will guarantee a long-term project. Look at the current roster: Vinicius, Rodrigo, Camavinga, Valverde, Tchouaméni, Bellingham. All young, all world-class or on the way to becoming it, and all capable of carrying Real Madrid into the next era of football. That is not luck, that is vision. So once again, I put the dilemma in front of you, the fans. Imagine yourself sitting in Florentino Perez's chair. On your desk is a document. You have the opportunity to sign Rodri, but the price is staggering: 180 or even 200 million euros. Would you do it? Would you sign the check and bring in a player who undoubtedly improves your team but at the cost of limiting all other movements in the transfer market? Or would you resist the temptation, keep faith in the midfielders you already have, and redirect those funds towards positions where the need is undeniable? I am certain that opinions will be divided. Some of you will say, always go for the best, no matter the price. That has always been part of Real Madrid's identity. We sign the biggest, the brightest, the ones who make history. Others will agree with me and say, the most important thing is not collecting names, but building a balanced, competitive team. Football is not won by one superstar. It is won by a squad, by depth, by intelligence in recruitment. And let me be crystal clear with my conclusion. As much as I admire and respect Rodri, and I really do, his signing by Real Madrid would not be wise. It would not be necessary. It would not be intelligent. The club already has its future secured in midfield, and the resources must be used strategically, not impulsively. Florentino Perez has not made Real Madrid the most successful club in the world by making rash decisions. He has done so by balancing ambition with vision, by making sure that every euro spent is an investment in the future, not just in the present. So, Madridistas and even Cules who are watching this, I open the floor to you. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Would you break the bank for Rodri? Or would you trust in the players we already have and use that money to strengthen the areas that truly need attention? If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell, because very soon I'll bring you another potential transfer bomb, one that could change everything. Here on El Madridista, we analyze it all, passionately, honestly, and always with the heart beating white. I'll see you in the next video, and as I always say, Hala Madrid, why not Amos?